Hey everybody, this is Chewy Plays Nintendo, and today I wanted to talk about 3 ideas I had for Animal Crossing New Horizons based on what we've seen so far. So, as we all know, we're going into a deserted island, and we're going to have to build this place from scratch. So, one thing I want to be the focus in this game is expansion of options. I mean, I've talked in the past about how we've never gotten to grow our town, but this time I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about how when shops start appearing in our island, I want those to really expand what is possible and what we can do. Thus far, we've really seen only a few of the things we can craft and just a couple things at the store when talking to Timmy at the Nook. I guess, what do they call that store? That crafting shop? I don't really know anymore because we haven't gotten anything really official for that. At least I don't remember if we have. But what I want to see is things like, for example, I noticed you could buy a tree or some flowers at Nook's, and they were pretty much the basic kinds, but I want to see when Leaf shows up to your town, and I want to see him kind of show you even more options. I know a lot of you are probably tired of hearing this, but I love trees, and I want to, I guess, get different types of trees outside of the essentially 4 types we've gotten so far, which are fruit trees, non-fruit trees, the pine trees, the coconut trees, and I guess I always forget about the bamboo, so that's a 5th type of tree that we get. But beyond that, I want to see Leaf carry new types of trees. For example, Pocket Camp has shown us things like ginkgo trees and birch trees and, different seasonal trees. So I want Leaf to come to town and then give us a whole variety of options, even with flowers. Like, we've seen a lot of new flowers in Pocket Camp, but getting a much wider variety of flowers and trees when Leaf shows up, I think that'll make it a lot more worth it when he comes to town. And a lot of different characters can do that. For example, the Able sisters and everything, I'm sure they'd carry a whole bunch of, exclusive types of clothing that we weren't able to craft before. And I think that's the key for it. I want it to be stuff that we couldn't really get our hands on before. It's stuff that's exclusive to the crafting. I'm sure they'll have a mix of what we can craft and can't craft, and that would just make it a lot, better once you finally get those things into town. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the path creator. So thus far, we've only really seen dirt paths show up when we, use that tool. What I want to happen with that is, I want to know more about how it works. I want to know if you can attach different materials or craft different things depending. For example, I'd really love to do stone paths, cobble streets around my town. If we collect a stone material, can we make paths based on that stone material? So I'm really interested to see how it works, but I really want that to expand the ways we can do pathing around our town, because thus far, if it's just dirt paths, I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of the animal tracks. I'm one of the few who is not against animal tracks. I would prefer to have them if it meant that I could make dirt paths, but of course they gave us an alternative. So I think they're taking out animal tracks so we can make dirt paths. So I really don't mind that we can make them, because I really do appreciate that natural look and feel to that system. But I want to see more. I want to see people have even greater options, like wooden paths. I know Sergio always names his town Madera, and I think thus far he's still going with that name, but it would be really nice for him to be able to make wooden paths along his town. Just like I said, cobblestone paths would be really fun, but I think the different materials we get should be able to be used in that. I don't know if we can thus far, so I don't know if that's something that will happen, but it is just an idea that I'm hoping comes true, because if it's not, I think people are still going to have to make their own patterns and build their own paths around that. In that case, I really hope they give us kind of a see-through paint option, because one of the hard things with if you make a path that integrates the grass pattern, for example, the hard part about that is that you have to take into account all the seasonal shifts. Every time the season shifts just a little bit, the colors slightly change, and it'd be nice to have a see-through paint color option for your pathing, just so you don't have to spend the time designing that. Like, the season will change and that see-through area will show that same grass color that is all around town, essentially. But overall, I just really want to see like the pathing options expand, and maybe we'll get like a new character that helps us with that. I don't know, maybe they don't need that, but regardless, I'll move on to the next thing. The last thing I want to talk about, which is my third, is the cliffs. So we're getting a big return with the cliffs in this game. It's been a while since they've played like a significant role. New Leaf had cliffs, but it was essentially to block us off from the island and kind of show us our limits based on where we can do or build public works projects. So anytime we tried to walk down the cliff with Isabel, she would say, hey, no, we can't really go and build down there. It's not something we can do. So it was more of a gate, I guess, a boundary for us to be able to just do public works projects and everything. But what I'm seeing with this new map is, since City Folk, it's the first time we're going to have a cliff that's more closely integrated into our town. We're going to have a lower tier, which we can do all these things on, and a higher tier, which I'm assuming we'll be able to do all that same stuff on that higher tier. So what I want to see with the cliffs is, thus far we haven't really seen a ramp that takes us up the cliff. Just like the rivers don't have bridges, the cliffs don't have ramps, so I have a feeling it's going to be initially blocked off for us. So it's going to be an area of town that we're not going to be able to see. I want later, I'm sure we're going to be able to build bridges. I think later we're going to be able to build ramps up our cliffs. So I want to see like a whole line of designs that we can do based on the cliffs. I know Population Growing always had these really interesting, intricate cliff ideas outside of the basic ones, so it'd be really fun to see that. The other thing I want to see is the cliffs kind of provide us with something very unique in the outside world, and that's a wall. New Leaf did a really good job of implementing wall furniture. I'd love to see wall furniture be able to be used outside on the cliffs. Like, let us hang things up. Let us do different things to decorate that landscape. It'd be pretty interesting, I think, to see like little potted flowers hanging on the cliff walls. I think it would be a lot of fun, or signs and pictures. I don't know. I guess you can go wild with that idea, you know? The other thing I want to see with the cliffs is if we're going to be able to like dig little caves into it. It'd be interesting to have like a little cave in the cliff that you can walk into and sit down on a bench or something. So I don't know, I want to see the cliffs used for a lot more than just a barrier in this game. Just like a boundary that keeps you locked into the world. So that's what I want to see. I want to see that expanded in a way that makes it, I guess, more interesting for the player. So if we just have more to do with that, I think it'd be a lot of fun. Well, thank you all for listening. That was all of my ideas for now. I'm sure I'm going to have more as we get news and things, but these were the kind of things that we saw in the trailer that interested me and what I'd like to see expanded based on that. So let me know what you thought of those ideas. Let me know what your ideas have been so far. Maybe I'll get those together and make a video about that while I'm still working on many different ideas for these videos. There's a lot to talk about with New Horizons, and it's really exciting to be able to dig into the game a little bit deeper. So anyways, yeah, leave a comment about what your ideas for this game are so far. And remember, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all next week. Bye.